Welcome, story lovers. It's your regular storyteller here once again, bringing you another chilling true stepmother horror story. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more gripping horror stories. And if there's any topic you'd like me to tell a story about, drop it in the comment section below. My name is Joe. I was only 13 years old when my father died a slow and painful death that no one could explain. My dad was my favorite person in the entire household, not my siblings, and certainly not the woman I had called my mother all my life. What I didn't know was that she wasn't my biological mother. Even after all the terrible things she did to me, my father never revealed the truth. He never told me that the woman I called Mom was actually my stepmother. As a child, I would often sit quietly and ask myself why my own mother seemed to hate me so much. Why would she bring me into this world if she had no intention of loving me? I spent my childhood feeling unwanted and neglected. I had two older siblings, Richard and Rachel. My stepmother treated me more like a servant than a member of the family. I did almost everything around the house. Whenever she needed help, I was the one she called. I washed dishes, swept and mopped floors, cleaned the compound and handled countless chores every single day. When meals were ready, I was expected to serve everyone before thinking about myself. Most mornings, I arrived late to school because I had to finish my household duties first. And whenever I got home before Richard and Rachel, my stepmother would immediately find more work for me to do. No matter how hard I worked, it was never enough. Whenever something happened at school that delayed me from getting home before my siblings, my stepmother would welcome me with a hard slap and call me a lazy boy. She would ask who I expected to do my chores while I was away. My siblings never liked me either. Every time I tried to play with them or spend time with them, they pushed me away and treated me like I didn't belong. My father had become helpless because of a strange illness that struck him years earlier. The disease left him crippled and in constant pain until it eventually took his life. There were many days when I went to school without money to buy food during break time. Yet my siblings never had to worry about being hungry. My stepmother usually packed leftovers for me to eat at school. Whenever there was no food left from the previous night's dinner, I had no choice but to spend the entire school day on an empty stomach. Sometimes I didn't even have money to buy water. Fortunately, one person cared about me, my teacher. He liked me very much and often noticed whenever I remained in the classroom during break while my classmates went out to eat. Although I hardly had enough time at home to study because of my endless chores, I was one of the best students in my class. Everything changed the day I received a scholarship. I had always performed well in school and passed all my examinations. One day, my teacher called me to his office and shared incredible news. He told me that I had been awarded a scholarship and would not have to pay school fees until I completed my education. Later that day, the headmistress gathered the entire school during assembly and announced the names of the students who had earned scholarships. Only 5 students were selected, and my name was among them. As I stood before the crowd to receive my scholarship documents, something deep inside me told me not to take the papers home. After the ceremony, I went straight to my teacher and asked him to keep the documents for me. He agreed without asking too many questions. Somehow, my siblings got home before me that day and told my stepmother everything. When I finally got home, she was waiting. The moment I stepped inside, she slapped me so hard that I stumbled backward and fell onto the sofa. Before I could even explain myself, she demanded to know where the scholarship documents were. At that moment, I knew I had to answer. If I remained silent, another slap would probably follow. I told her that my teacher had kept the documents. The moment those words left my mouth, her expression darkened even more. That night, she refused to give me any food. She told me that until I brought those scholarship documents home, I would not taste a single bite of her food. Despite my hunger, I was still forced to complete all my usual chores. At first, I thought she was only trying to scare me. As the evening passed, I waited for her to call me for dinner, but she never did. Instead, after everyone had eaten, she hid whatever food was left and went to bed with Richard and Rachel as if I didn't exist. Hungry, exhausted, and heartbroken, I remained alone in the living room. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring into the darkness and wondering why my life had to be this way. Eventually, sleep overcame me. The next thing I knew, sunlight was shining through the windows. I woke up suddenly and realized it was already morning. I'd spent the entire night sleeping on the sofa without food, without a blanket, and without anyone caring whether I was alive or dead. My stomach hurt badly from hunger. The pain was becoming unbearable. I knew there was only one way to get food. I had to retrieve the scholarship documents from my teacher and take them home. I didn't even take a bath or wear my school uniform. I rushed straight to school and sat outside my teacher's office waiting for him to arrive. When he finally came, he stopped and stared at me. He asked whether I was all right and whether everything was okay. I explained what had happened and told him that my stepmother had refused to give me food because of the documents. Instead of handing them over, he called another student and gave him money to buy food for me. Then he told me that I was going to eat first, and that afterward he would accompany me home and explain everything to my mother. I was so hungry that I finished every bite. While I was eating, he asked about my father, and I explained that he had died not long ago. Then he asked about my siblings. When I mentioned Richard and Rachel, he immediately recognized them. He looked surprised and asked why they always had money during break time while I never did. I couldn't answer because I honestly didn't know. Then he asked whether the woman I lived with was my real mother. I immediately said yes. After all, I had known her as my mother my entire life. Later that day, my teacher followed me home. When we arrived, he remained outside and asked me to call my mother. The moment I stepped into the living room, my stepmother grabbed me and began beating me without asking a single question. My cries echoed through the house. Hearing the commotion, my teacher rushed inside and pulled her away from me. The moment she saw him, her entire attitude changed. Suddenly, she became calm and caring. She told him that she had been struggling to pay bills alone since my father's death, and that she had only become angry because she thought I had lost the scholarship documents. She conveniently forgot to mention that she had starved me. Unfortunately for her, I had already told him everything. My teacher refused to hand over the documents and eventually left. I honestly believed the problem was over. I was wrong. That night was the night I nearly lost my life. After everyone had gone to bed, I remained awake for a while because I had spent hours washing dishes and completing chores. I eventually lay down on the sofa in the living room to rest. A few minutes later, I heard strange noises coming from the kitchen. At first I ignored them, but the sounds continued. Curious, I got up and walked quietly toward the kitchen. What I saw made my blood run cold. My stepmother was standing there with a knife hidden beneath the wrapper tied around her waist. The moment I saw her conceal the knife, I knew something wasn't right. Fear gripped my heart. Without making a sound, I slowly backed away and slipped outside. From the compound, I watched her through the window. Moments later, she walked into the boys' quarters where I usually slept. She looked around but couldn't find me. Then she searched the living room, still nothing. Next, she came outside. My heart nearly stopped. I quickly ran beyond the gate and hid where I could watch her through a small opening. She checked every corner of the compound and even walked to the security room, though there was no security guard there. At that moment, I realized something terrifying. She was looking for me. When she couldn't find me, she returned to the living room, sat on the sofa, switched off all the lights and waited. I knew that if I went back into that house, I might never come out alive. So I ran. I ran all the way to my school. When I arrived, I found a classroom window that hadn't been properly locked. I climbed inside and spent the entire night there. Before dawn, I climbed back out so nobody would see me. When my teacher arrived later that morning, I told him everything, every single detail. He listened carefully and then made a decision. He told me that I was not going back to that house. Then he added something that shocked me. He said he needed to find out whether that woman was really my mother. A few weeks later, he returned with information. He told me that investigations revealed my father had married 2 wives. One of them had died years ago, and according to people who knew the family, the deceased wife had a son. My teacher then asked whether I knew of any sibling apart from Richard and Rachel. I said no. That was when he began to suspect the truth. He believed I was the son of my father's first wife, the woman who had died. The woman I had called mother all my life was actually my stepmother. A year later, my teacher helped me gain admission into a boarding school. During that entire year, my stepmother never came looking for me. She never visited the school. She never reported me missing. She never asked anyone whether they had seen me. And that was when I finally understood something painful. The woman I had spent my entire life trying to please never truly cared whether I was there or not. Joe's story is a heartbreaking reminder that sometimes the monsters we fear are the ones living under our own roof. What do you think would have happened if Joe hadn't seen his stepmother with that knife? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. I read every single one. If this story gave you chills, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with another horror lover, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another chilling tale. Until next time, stay safe out there.